All right, Mark, can you see me?
I can.
Great. Let's start by just telling me who you are.
Mark Seifert.
Tell me a bit about your background in intelligence. Who are you in the intelligence world, or who were you in the intelligence world?
I joined the Canadian Security Intelligence Service 1990. Retired around 2021, 2022. Joseph Zagayer and Raid Jasser were two individuals that plotted to derail a train coming from the US into Canada. Those two individuals their plot ended up getting foiled.
I've read that CSIS, the RCMP, and also the FBI cooperated to bring them to justice. Can you give me any sense of how that came about?
So, I guess the service cooperates extensively with the RCMP. Any major counter-terrorist or counter-terrorist investigation or terrorist plot that the service is looking at in Canada, at some point in time, the RCMP are going to become involved. They either become involved through their own work, or they get involved because the service has advised them of a specific incident. The service is looking at collecting intelligence exclusively, with the objective of foiling something, whereas the RCMP have a responsibility, or part of their mandate is to charge and arrest. But in all of that, we're also cooperating extensively with our allies. And one of our key allies in all of this is the Americans. So most roles, or most plots, such as this one, where it's actually originating in the United States, or it's involving a US component, we're going to be cooperating very closely with our American counterparts. So to your question, the service was looking and investigating this matter to determine the extent and credibility of the threat. It's one thing to have an individual that might want to do something. The question is, does that individual have the capability to do that?
When the service gets wind of something like this, how do they keep tabs on these people? What did they do to try to figure out what was going on, how credible the threat was?
It's all about resources. And so an organization like CSIS has many tools at its disposal. We can go out and just interview people. That ranges to covert surveillance, it goes to human sources, it goes to intercepts. But those resources and how we deploy them has to be balanced, of course, against individual rights and existing legislation. And so the first priority when the service learns of something of this nature goes back to, what is the credibility of the information? Is this credible? Is this just an individual talking? For example, it's one thing to say, I don't like the current Canadian government, it should be removed, it should be overthrown, but these could just be individuals talking, and it could just be banter. Once you start moving into the planning phase, and you move to taking more concrete steps, and the service is able to assess that your intentions, that you're looking to move from discussion, if you will, to actionable steps, at that point the service begins to deploy more and more resources. Our process for deploying those resources are publicly disclosed. We have, in those days, 3 different levels of authority Let's just refer to them as level 1, level 2, and level 3. And as you go up in those different levels of authority, you deploy more resources. So when we would first hear of something like this, I mean, we would validate what we're hearing through our on-the-ground networks, through open sources, through our confidential sources, if you will, as well, to get a sense of, what's the credibility behind what this individual is actually saying? And once we determine there is a level of credibility, and there is a level of seriousness involved, and there are timelines being discussed, the service would then consider going to the federal courts, asking for more intrusive powers. And that would be a lot of electronic intercepts and things of that nature.
Do you think the threat from these two against the train was credible?
Yes. I was the chief of counterterrorism in the province of Quebec at that time, based out of Montreal. And my team led the investigation, the Montreal portion of the investigation against Chizapa-Zagayer.
And what were your main priorities during this time period?
Identify, first of all, Chizapa-Zagayer, identify the extent to which he was interested in undertaking a terrorist attack, identify the scope of his network, both domestically and internationally, and the extent to which he was receiving directions from Al-Qaeda.